Earlier this week, Louise and I finally saw the Tom Stoppard play on Broadway, Leopoldstadt. We were supposed to see it in late December. Of course, we both had COVID and gave our tickets away. And finally, this week, on Wednesday, we saw the play. The play is stunning, and there is a great deal I would like to say about it, but won't, because for all of those of you who have not seen it, I don't want to give anything at all away. I highly recommend it, and should it come to Washington, which I really hope it does, I will absolutely go see it again. There is a lot there. And I said I'm not going to give anything away, but I'm going to give just a tiny bit away. But if you've read anything about it, you know this. The play is set in Vienna and covers the years 1899 to 1955. The opening scene of the play, stunning. It's among other things a kind of plunge into the pinnacle of Viennese Jewish creativity and Western cultural vitality brought about by the European Enlightenment. It's as if you're watching on the stage in the first scene what I call a picture. Just picture, and I'm just going to read names. Freud, Adler, Bergman, Frankl, Wittgenstein, Mahler, Schoenberg, Kreitzler, Kafka, Roth, Zweig, Herzl. The list feels endless, and these are just a few of the many, many, many names of the Viennese Jewish giants. Writers, philosophers, scientists, musicians, all walks of cultural, intellectual life in Vienna at this period. Jewish giants, cultural giants of any era, in the arts and sciences who left their mark on history and on us. It is staggering. The opening scene, therefore, brought to mind a question that a dear friend and highly respected colleague asked me very recently in an email. I'm going to quote the email that I got. You've said many times, Jews need to be defenders of Enlightenment values. Do you mean by that, at least in part, defenders of true liberalism? End of quote. My answer in one word, yes. As Louise and I left the play and walked through always dizzying and enlivening Manhattan, I said to her something like the following. In the history of Western civilization as we know it, going back to antiquity, authoritarian regimes always seek to do two things: clamp down and control intellectual, cultural creativity, and come after the Jews. In some ways, the two are one. The authoritarians out there inevitably hate books, intellectual curiosity, creativity, and therefore they hate us. We are, after all, the people of the book. I might say people of many, many, many books. So I think our post-Enlightenment Judaism stands on two things: a very few self-evident truths, human dignity, freedom, opportunity for all, and a passion for searching for truth. Science, philosophy, the arts, these are all paths for searching for something more, discovering something more about the human condition. These small t truths, as I call them, are the object of the human quest to overcome what Jürgen Habermas says called a sense of something missing, something which I spoke about on Rosh Hashanah. If you can remember when I quoted Habermas perhaps too extensively. Louise is going like this from the back of the room. I quoted Habermas too extensively, but this sense of something missing. This is the small t search for truth that the Enlightenment opened up. So I have here, if you go back to the handout, the daf, this commentary on the revelation in the book of Exodus captures what I'm talking about as well as anything, the great scene of Moses on Sinai seeking to know God. So the magician who's running the internet tonight, the Zoom, go to the shared text on the shared screen for those of us who are doing it that way. Otherwise, if you have the sheet, if you don't have the sheet, you didn't take one from the pile, I can give you one. I have an extra one right here. You have to share. Okay, but it's right here. It's right here. It's the last page of the doc that you have. go to the shared text. And I'm not going to read the beginning of Exodus 33, but we know the scene. Moses has gone up to Sinai a second time. The first set of tablets have been smashed, and Moses goes up, and Moses is encountering God a second time. And just go to the bold print towards the bottom my layout is probably different than yours. Go to the bold print in Exodus chapter 33. Moses said, I pray you, show me your glory. And he said, that's God, I myself will make all my goodness pass before you, and you will proclaim the name of Adonai before you, and I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show compassion on whom I will show compassion. But, he said, God, you cannot see my face, for no man can see me and live. Then Adonai said, behold, there is a place by me, and you shall stand there on the rock, and it will come about, while my glory is passing by, that I will put you in the cleft of the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take my hand away, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. Okay, Moses is there. He so wants to know God, and God says, not so fast. You go over there. I'm going to walk by, and you can only see a glimpse of my back. So I love this commentary, which I've shared a couple times over many, many years. But this is from Micah Kifshuto. This is I think a late 19th, early 20th century commentary, Bible commentary. This is on this verse. You shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. If there is an esoteric meaning to this phrase, I am not privy to it, because I am not part of the divine inner circle. So right off the bat, what does this phrase even mean? You can see my back, but not my face? But what I see in it reflects the words of a German sage, Lessing, who wrote the following, quote, were I to have stood in the presence of God, whose right hand was holding truth, and whose left hand was holding the search for truth, and were I to have been given the choice of one or the other, I would choose the search for truth. Okay? It's fantastic. Don't you just love the way the commentator is pulling this apart? What does this mean? Truth, search for truth. I take search for truth. Now he then says, a similar thing is already in the Mishnah. I didn't think up this idea. This is already an old Jewish idea. A single hour of repentance and good deeds in this world is more delightful than the entire lifetime in the world to come. Okay? A single hour of repentance and good deeds now is worth more than the entire world to come. They said this because one who arrives at truth, and thus to the life of the world to come, is now at rest from all striving, having arrived at the desired destination. And when one works towards something of supreme value, the striving itself is a greater good than the reward yielded. That's such an insight in what we're about, I think. It is just the same with the matter of knowing God in God's ways. Were a person to be able to ascend to the highest rung, bar none, what would that person do subsequently? Therefore, a person cannot see the face of God. Only God's back is shown to the God-fearing, so that they will study, search out, and infer things about God's face from that back. Thus they will strive all their days to know God with a full and clear knowledge, and that striving is their reward. Okay. There's such a, I don't want to say anywhere, I'm going to shut up. Just sit there and hold it, because it's so. Now, next. Melvin Galvin, Truth and Existence. Galvin, I've not read a lot of Galvin. I read this book, I read nothing, but Galvin taught at Northern Illinois University, just as so from Chicago. A great, one of the very really thinking modern philosophers. So the story is deeply paradoxical. This commentary that we've just read. For if Lessing genuinely desires the truth, then is he not disingenuous in turning down the offer of truth itself? He's kind of pushing back, but he's not really pushing back. If I desire gold, and someone offers me gold or a stake in a gold claim, I would take the gold. But by denying God's offer of truth, Lessing seems to be denying any meaningful sense of a search for truth. Why search for truth if when offered it, one turns it down? That itself is such a profound question as it responds to this. But then, yet this fable of Lessing suggests a deeper insight than mere frustration with someone who does not know what he wants. There is the suggestion in this little story that only an infinite being can possess truth, and that to accept the right-handed offer is to forfeit one's humanity. God knows. No one can see my face and live. Go stand over there, kiddo. There is different realms to life. You can end the screen share. Thank you. So, this is one of those from one of those books that like you look at over and over because you never fully understand it, but you know that it's so right. And then I also kind of have this in different places in my computer because this is the best interpretation I know of that suggests that Judaism abhors dogma or any absolute knowledge of anything completely 100, 1,000%. We are allergic, absolutely, as Jews, possibly as human beings, but I'm not sure. But as Jews, we are allergic to absolutes that are dictated to us. The founder of Abraham is the person who began the first argument with God. We are allergic to absolutes that are dictated to us. Our Judaism loves questions and tentative answers, and as Hebrew, davar acher. What about this? You didn't think of this, buddy. What about this? So, defending the Enlightenment means defending the right to a multivocal society with a crowded public square filled with noisy but respectful debate. Defending liberalism means defying the book banners who are really book burners. It means opposing those who want to curtail questioning anything and everything. It means defending liberalism and its spirit of inquiry that was the hallmark of the European Enlightenment. Defending liberalism is the Jewish mandate of our time because it entails the absolute refusal to forfeit our humanity. I might say our shared humanity. And the right to think differently, the right to be different, the right to be part of the smallest minority group as long as you are conducting yourself ethically in the public square. To close then with words that I love from Archibald MacLeish, not a Jew, not a rabbi, but was thinking about the exact same thing. Quote, "There is not a single police state of any ideology which does not confess by its Berlin walls, its nets of concentration camps, its prison hospitals for the insane, its censorship of books, its silencing of mouths, its suppression of minds, that it is afraid. And what is it most afraid of? Opposition from within. Opposition from within the police state can put down. Wars it can win for a time, but the free man, the free mind, it cannot conquer." So let us hope that Leopoldstadt comes to Washington. It will instruct us and inspire us for the struggle we currently face in many parts of our own land. Shabbat Shalom.